in the 21st century. Hard-working people working hard for you and me. Moving higher, time and time again. Through the years you'll find us here. Moving higher.
Hello and welcome to Moving Iron Podcast Markets with Shawn Hackett. Shawn is with Hackett Financial out of Boca Raton, Florida. And this edition of the Moving Iron Podcast is brought to you by Dawson Tire & Wheel, your premier ag tire and wheel provider in North America, helping people grow, as well as TractorZoom, delivering insights. Well, Shawn, it is we're pretty much in this full-blown stay-at-home, shelter in place, or whatever term they're using now with this coronavirus thing. And the upper Northeast is getting hammered by it, and there's mixed reports about what's going on across the other parts of the United States. But right now there is a big kind of gloomy cloud kind of hanging over the economy, especially with this upcoming jobs report coming up here pretty quick with the number of people that have filed for unemployment here in the last couple of weeks. So I guess give me your synopsis of the last 10 days or so, and then kind of what you see happening moving forward.
I think we have to separate the disease from the actions. There is a temperature band around the Northern Hemisphere that has shown community spread risks that are serious. Italy, Iran, South Korea, Wuhan, New York City now, Chicago, Seattle. These are all in this similar band where there's temperatures between 35 and 55 degrees where the virus tends to really go crazy and it's very hard to control. And in those areas, it is a very serious situation. The good news is that as you get above 60 degrees, the virus really deactivates. So when you get further south of there, there's isolated cases, but not community spread. Unfortunately, what has happened is that everyone trying to be safe versus not has decided to shut the whole country down, despite the fact that it's really a few regions that are really experiencing this. And because of that, we have put ourselves in a short-term depression. I mean, it's not a recession, it's a depression. I mean, all the numbers that we're starting to get are showing that the U.S. economy is likely to drop between 25 and 30% in the next 3 months based upon shutting the U.S. economy down. Now, of course, we've purposely put ourselves there. And, of course, the minute we open the economy up again, we will get some of that back. But we will not get all of it back, Casey. I mean, there's some of that decline that is going to be more permanent. And I view it this way. The whole world is shut down, right? So the whole world is in one big margin call.
Right.
Speaking to futures markets, okay?
All right, I'm digging it.
Meaning I have rent to pay, I have mortgage to pay, I have car payments, I have utilities. That's my margin call on a monthly basis. And if you tell me that I have to go home and you shut my business down and I have no money, I can't pay the margin call. And if I can't pay the margin call, I either have to sell assets, which is what we've been seeing happen. If I have them, if I don't have assets, then I don't pay and I default. And so what the government is doing, understanding this, is saying, okay, we understand everybody has a margin call, so we're going to put money into the bank accounts of everybody. We're going to give money to businesses, and we're going to give you the capital to, and we're going to tell you don't have to pay that rent, you don't have to pay the mortgage, you don't have to make those payments right now. We're putting the margin call off. You don't have to pay it right away. It's off in the distance, and we're going to give you some cash until we can fire things back up again and then find out what the real long-term damage is to the U.S. economy. And that's what this $2 trillion bill is.
Right.
It's putting out money so that you don't have to make the margin call right now. It's the right thing to do, given that we've shut down. We can argue whether we should or should not have shut down the U.S. economy, being that we did. They must have had to do it, Casey, or else it'd be, I have ketchup, you need ketchup, I need your
right.
I need your mustard, so we just swap bartering. I mean, that's what it would come down to if you didn't do something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, things are. I have mixed feelings about the the whole bill thing. I mean, not so much about getting people the money and those kind of things. It's everything else that's in it. You know what I mean? It's just 833-page bill to get people $2,000 or whatever the number is that they're going to give. Seems to be like there might be a large amount of pork barrel spending inside of a bill. That should just be a pretty cut and dry thing, but it's politics, right? All right, so
politicians never let a crisis go to waste.
That's
They
right.
always will put their pet projects on. That they've done this forever, and this is an opportunity to get things through they could never get through otherwise. Unfortunately, that's our system, whether we like it or not, and it's not nice.
Yep. Or not is the part that you need to stress in that. So, all right. So today is the export report. Is going to start coming out. Weekly export report's going to come out, and looking at the numbers that are expectations for corn. I think if you just don't sell anything, the market might go up because they're not expecting anything. Maybe 100,000 metric tons here is what their expectation is.
Right.
So, and same with soybeans. I guess take a look at what's been going on. China's been kind of poking its head in here every once in a while and picking up a few things, whether it's hogs. There's been some soybeans last week. We talked about that last week, and some corn last week. I guess talk about what you think is going to happen with that export report, and where do you think the biggest play might be for some stuff going overseas?
Well, right now, I mean, I think a lot of ag markets have actually caught a bid, whether it's bean meal, whether it's the coffee market. There's been some surges here. Wheat market just taking off.
Right.
In the midst of all of this, and what is starting to happen, and we're seeing it everywhere. We talked about this in our report. Is this idea of security of supply, availability of supply. Supply may be there, but it's not available. It's not readily accessible to those that need it. And so we're starting to see hoarding. We're starting to see stockpiling. We're starting to see countries pick up the pace on buying from those that are willing to sell. So, for example, the Russians said that they might put a ban on future exports, and they're taking a close look at what they have available for sale and deciding how much of what they still have they want to get rid of because they're worried about supply. In Vietnam, they put a ban on rice exports. I don't think they've ever done this before, and because they're taking a closer look at how much rice they actually have and how much of those supplies they really want to remove themselves from. Every country now is strategically looking at these important food items and saying, in this instance, in this environment, when we may not have access, maybe we just want to hold on to what we have. And that means exports from the U.S., which is right now the only place that has willing supplies to sell to the rest of the world. I think we're going to see continued strong exports in most markets, surprises to the upside. China's going to continue to buy, and I think many other countries are going to continue to buy, whether it's Japan, whether it's South Korea. We got an indication Iran was going to come in for a huge amount of wheat in their next tender, well above normal. So this trend of increased demand due to concern over availability of supply and the desire to stockpile is good news for U.S. agriculture, actually. And I don't see it going away right now. I think we have scared the heck out of every government out there, and they have decided just-in-time inventory may no longer be good anymore for them. And so I'm expecting these reports to continue to be surprisingly strong, despite the fact that everyone's concerned about demand right now.
Yeah, that's the other thing too I was going to bring up is the fact that it seems like the whole world, and I guess that's the difference between having a robust ag system that has the ability to get the infrastructure to get crops and cattle and pork and everything else to wherever it needs to go with relative ease, and what that looks like. We're selling stuff as fast as people want to buy it. Other people that would typically be like Vietnam or somebody like that, when it comes to rice, would typically be exporting that stuff out. They're just talking about holding it all where they're at. I guess that's a difference in mindset and difference in their ability to grow and what they have to go on, because we know we're going to have 90 million acres of corn or corn and soybeans that are going to come down the pike here, hopefully come down the pike here this year, and what that looks like. So there's that's that strong sense of community, I guess, when it comes to selling stuff to us, it's just another year, and that's what we're seeing on every farmer I've talked to. It's just, I got a crop to plant and a crop to harvest, so is what it is.
Well, and I already look at what's going on in South America, Casey, and they're already. We haven't even gotten to their winter season where the virus could really, really have community spread down there. That's the next thing to watch, is that the 35 to 55 degrees is going to move into Argentina and southern Brazil, but they're already shutting lots of parts down. And so for example, the port of Santos, which is where most of the coffee gets sold out of, it's half shut down because workers aren't coming. They're worried. They're scared. Coffee market has rallied 20% off their lows just in the last week. And if this were to, and I think a lot of people are looking down there and saying, we may not be able to rely on South America for corn and soybean exports when they're available this summer. If this thing really gets out of hand, we had better buy from them whatever we can, but we'd really better go to the United States and buy from what we can from them, because they're willing sellers. And so this whole concept of who can we rely on to produce food and sell us reliably quality product day in and day out, month in, month in, out, everyone's realizing that the United States is one of the few places you can go to do that. And I think it's going to change this aversion to having the U.S. be the holder of all stocks and the buyer of last resort comes to us, to being, we are the first place they go to, because we know everyone wants to get real friendly with us because they feel they're going to need us going forward, especially if South America becomes a basket case. It's not good news for humanity, but it's good news for U.S. agriculture.
Right.
And quite frankly, that's what I spend my days and my work and my efforts trying to do, is try and promote a better environment for U.S. agriculture. And I think all this supports rewarding our farmers for being the best in the world at what they do.
Yeah. No doubt about that. That's for sure. Okay, two things that you alluded to, or one thing you alluded to earlier, and the other one I'm going to throw in here real quick, is wheat price has been just on a rocket ship going up, man. It's been up 20 cents, up 10 cents, up 15 cents. I mean, it's just up, big time comparatively to where it's been over the past 6 months. And to you alluded to the fact that people are stockpiling and hoarding, those kind of things. The flip side of that is the cattle price that has been kicked around a bunch. Box beef, on cold storage reports and those kind of things have just been getting decimated by the number of people going to the grocery store and buying, 17 years worth of hamburger to put in a freezer that they don't have room for. But they've got all this stuff going on here. So cattle prices now are starting to pick back up because the kill rate is going up, and the amount of boxed beef to replace and frozen stocks and those kind of things are all dwindling so fast. So talk about those two items, and actually let's focus on the cattle first. Cattle market to me is the most interesting one that we've seen so far because of what it's done, and the adverse reflection of the amount of boxed beef that's getting shoveled onto grocery store shelves.
We talked about this last week, I believe, in our talk, and we talked about the stripping of supermarket shelves of every amount of beef, every ounce of chicken, every ounce of pork, and yes, you can put some in the freezer, but this is not like rice where you can throw it in your storage bin for 6 months and it's still going to be good. So, and it also comes down to the idea that the trend is, if everyone is staying home forcibly right now, but even when we go back to work, I think more people are going to spend more time at home, cook more at home, and we have a very, very early start to the growing season. We talked about, to the spring season. We talked about this last week, and how the last 2 years we didn't get warm weather till late June.
Right.
But it's hot and it's warm in a lot of places. That means the grilling season is going to be 2 to 3 months earlier than it was the last couple of years. And if everyone's home and having cabin fever and wanting to do something to just enjoy themselves, get that grill fired up, get the beef and the chicken on there and keep doing that, I think the demand throughput for things like beef are going to be, and by the way, all this money that's going to be handed to people, people aren't going to be paying their mortgage bills with it. they're going to be buying more food with it.
Right.
That's really what it is. They're going to be able to say, I can feed my family for the next month or 2 or 3, depending on how much money we get, but I'm not making my mortgage payment. That's for food. And that feeds into this idea that this demand on the supermarket level isn't going away. And, beef is clearly going to be in high demand, at least domestically. And the rest of the world is doing the same thing. So remember, we went below the Tyson fire lows.
Yeah.
You can believe that. At that level, I think we said this last time, every cattle producer would take a gun and shoot their entire herd because it's all over. We're not going to have anything to grow. We're not going to have any animals to feed because it doesn't make any sense. So we had to start going back up. And, of course, limit up. This market's now in a wild V bottom, just like the Tyson fire, where it went straight down and straight back up. So I'm very optimistic. That straight up trend is going to continue for well into the spring before we get prices back to anything that makes remote sense to anybody.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the same way. So let's talk about the wheat market for a minute. It's doing the exact same thing. It's going up as fast as it can after getting kicked around like nobody, like a redheaded stepchild, someplace in the middle of nowhere, right? So I guess talk about that and where you see that coming from. So is that an adverse reflection of what you see happening with like Iran or something like that coming to the table saying, hey, I need a bunch of wheat because I got a bunch of people to feed, or I'm scared, I need to make sure I stockpile whatever. Is that where the wheat thing's coming from?
Wheat and rice feed half the world. Right. Without wheat and rice, half the world would starve to death. And I don't say that tongue in cheek. It's the truth. And when the world gets worried, those that cannot produce enough for themselves get worried about food security. They don't go out and buy corn. They buy wheat and rice, and they buy a lot of it, they stockpile it, and they buy as much as they can, because if they cannot feed the Iranians, if they can't feed the Vietnamese, it's revolution. And so the wheat and the rice market are benefiting from this. These are the two must-have ag markets in the world. You must have them at all costs. And I mean that at all costs. You will print the money and pay whatever needs to be paid to get the supply, to get into your country so that you can give the free food to your people and keep them happy. And it is clearly what's going on in wheat right now. So what's going to happen, Casey, there's going to be this initial panic buy-in, like we saw at the supermarket chain, right? Mm-hmm. And then they're going to acquire X amount, and then they're going to pull back a little bit and see how this plays out. And there could be a second wave of this buying, but right now we're still in the first wave of everybody trying to secure enough supply that they get a little more comfortable than where they were at. And clearly the wheat market's been a huge manifestation of that trend, without a doubt.
Yep. Oh, yeah, there's no doubt about that. And let's hope things continue on the same path that they're going and kind of bring some of these prices back up. Getting a lot of mixed markets here, especially in corn and soybeans, where they're up and down, or in interday volatility and stuff. Not nearly as bad as it's been, but I'm afraid when the jobs report comes out on Monday that we're going to see.
It'll be the worst ever.
Yeah,
the biggest drop ever. It'll be. They haven't seen anything less since the 1930s. I mean, it's going to be depression kind of numbers. It has to be.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, because it's just. But the market's going to react to that because their algorithms are all built to say, hey, holy crap, if this is happening, X happens, we have to do Y, and there's nothing going to stop that. And there's just going to be this free fall and panic and everything else that comes with it. And then the next day we're up 3,000 points. And
I agree. You're going to have the yin yang. It's going to be like that for a while because the numbers are going to be really, really bad for a while. And at some point the market just is going to get numb to it. But I think we're not there yet. We're still in the shock and awe of what is happening to us.
Right. Absolutely. All right. Well, good stuff, Shawn. This is some unique, unprecedented times. Haven't seen anything like this. We've been in different situations like this in U.S. history, but nothing like this. This is we're doing this to ourselves, and not because of something that happened somewhere and some crazy thing, triggered something. This is we're doing this to ourselves. So good information as usual. The Hackett reports that you guys put out, Hackett financial reports you put out are amazing information. I love reading those things because the amount of information you get out of them is awesome. If I wanted to get some stuff like that, what's the best place for me to find it?
Go to our website at Hackett, Hackett, advisors.com. You can get sample reports, look at some of our podcasts, our video interviews to see with what we do, to see if what we do would be of value to your listeners.
Right on. Well, make sure you guys go out and do that because Shawn's one of the best in the marketplace, and what he's talking about happens, and he follows it with great detail. So, Shawn, thanks for being on the podcast.
Thank you, Casey. Appreciate it. Have a good week.
All right. Make sure you check me out at Moving Iron LLC on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Make sure you check out the movingironllc.com website. Also check out globalagnetwork.com. And thanks to Dry Shod Boots for being the official work boot of the Moving Iron podcast. So until next time, I'm Casey Seymour, Shawn Hackett. Let's go move some iron, folks. Out.
Moving iron in the 21st century. Hard-working people working hard for you and me. Moving iron, time and time again. Through the years you'll find us here.